Hey there folks, I'm here diving into a world of warriors, honor and sharp swords. We're talking about the samurai of Japan, a class steeped in tradition and bound by a code. Their story starts deep in Japan's history. Local lords needed protection. Enter the samurai skilled warriors hired to guard these lands. So we're hanging out in Japan around the 8th century. It's the Heian period, a time known for its art, poetry and courtly life. Think fancy robes, elaborate ceremonies and a whole lot of calligraphy. Not exactly the image that pops into your head when you think samurai, right? But here's the thing, even in this refined world, there were cracks beneath the surface. The emperor's power was waning, and local lords were starting to flex their muscles. These lords needed people to protect their land and enforce their will. Sound familiar? That's where our samurai friends come in. They started as hired swords, tough guys who could handle themselves in a scrap. They were skilled horsemen, archers and swordsmen, ready to lay down their lives for their lord. And let me tell you, loyalty was huge for these guys. It wasn't just about getting a paycheck. It was about honor, duty, and respect. These early samurai were the forerunners of a warrior class that would shape Japan for centuries to come. As the Heian period wound down, things in Japan got a little messy. Think Game of Thrones, but with fewer dragons and more katanas. Local lords were vying for power, and the samurai, well, they were right in the thick of it. Remember how I said loyalty was big for these guys? That loyalty had a way of shifting the balance of power. Samurai weren't just following orders anymore, they were becoming kingmakers. The clans they served grew stronger, and so did the samurai's influence. It was a wild time, full of intrigue, betrayal, and epic battles. Imagine entire armies clashing on open plains, samurai charging into the fray with swords drawn. It was a brutal, unforgiving world, and only the strong survived. This wasn't just about land or money anymore, it was about control. The samurai, with their strength and discipline, were poised to take center stage in the drama that was unfolding. Now, we're getting to the good stuff. The year is 1192, and a dude named Minamoto no Yoritomo, a powerful samurai leader, sets up shop in Kamakura. This, my friends, is a big deal. Yoritomo doesn't just declare himself king or emperor, he takes the title of shogun, which basically means military dictator. And guess who's running the show in this new military government? You got it, the samurai. They're calling the shots, enforcing the law, and basically running the country. It's the beginning of the Kamakura shogunate, and it marks the start of samurai rule in Japan, a reign that would last for centuries. This wasn't just a power grab, though. The samurai, with their emphasis on order and discipline, brought a certain stability to Japan. They created a system of governance based on military strength and loyalty, a system that would shape the country's destiny. It's like this. Imagine a bunch of rough-and-tumble construction workers suddenly put in charge of running a city. They might not have the fanciest manners, but they know how to get things done. That's kind of what it was like with the samurai taking over. They were tough, pragmatic, and they weren't afraid to crack a few skulls to maintain order. Bushido, the way of the warrior. So the samurai are in charge, but what makes them tick? What drives them to be such fierce warriors and loyal servants? Enter Bushido, the samurai code of conduct. It's not just a list of rules, it's a way of life, a philosophy that permeates every aspect of a samurai's existence. We're talking about honor, courage, loyalty, discipline, self-sacrifice, all those noble qualities you see in old samurai movies. Bushido dictates how a samurai should behave on and off the battlefield, how they should treat their superiors, their families, and even their enemies. Imagine a moral compass, but instead of pointing north, it points towards honor and duty. That's Bushido in a nutshell. It's about doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when it means putting your life on the line. This code, this way of life, is what set the samurai apart. It's what made them more than just warriors. It made them guardians of a way of life, protectors of a code of honor that ran deep in the heart of Japan. Mongol invasions repelling the hordes. Okay, picture this. It's the 13th century and the Mongol Empire, led by the legendary Kublai Khan, is on a roll. They've conquered vast swathes of Asia, and now they've got their sights set on Japan. Talk about a bad day at the office. Twice, in 1274 and 1281, massive Mongol armadas descended upon Japanese shores. The samurai, bound by their code of Bushido, were ready to defend their homeland to the death. These were some of the largest naval invasions in history, and the samurai were outnumbered and outgunned. But they fought like demons, repelling the invaders with a ferocity that shocked the Mongols. Legend has it that divine winds, known as kamikaze, scattered the Mongol fleets, saving Japan from conquest. Whether it was divine intervention or sheer samurai grit, one thing's for sure. Those Mongol invasions cemented the samurai's reputation as fierce warriors and defenders of Japan. Sengoku Jidai, land of warring states. Fast forward a couple of centuries and Japan's a whole different ballgame. The Kamakura shogunate has crumbled and the country's plunged into chaos. We're talking about the Sengoku Jidai, the warring states period, a time of near constant conflict that lasted for over 100 years. Samurai clans are at each other's throats, vying for power and territory. Alliances are forged and broken. Betrayals are commonplace and the land is soaked in blood. It's a chaotic, brutal period in Japanese history, but it's also a time of great change and innovation. New weapons, like the arquebus, an early type of firearm, are introduced, changing the face of warfare. Samurai tactics evolve and castles become fortresses designed to withstand lengthy sieges. It's a time of upheaval, but it's also a time of opportunity. Ambitious samurai leaders rise to prominence, forging powerful domains and dreaming of uniting the fractured nation. Unification of Japan. Swords forged into a nation. By the late 16th century, Japan is exhausted from war. Enter Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu, visionary leaders who changed Japanese history. Nobunaga, a master of gunpowder warfare, conquers much of Japan. After Nobunaga's assassination, Hideyoshi unifies most of Japan. Finally, Ieyasu establishes the Tokugawa shogunate in 1603. These leaders ended centuries of warfare, ushering in an era of peace. Edo period. From battlefield to bureaucracy. With Japan unified, the Edo period, 1603 to 1868, saw a shift in the samurai's role. No more massive battles or constant warfare. Instead, peace reigned, and the samurai transitioned from warriors to administrators, bureaucrats, and enforcers of the Tokugawa shogunate's policies. Imagine a construction worker hanging up his tool belt and putting on a suit and tie. That's kind of what it was like for the samurai. They were still respected for their strength and discipline, but their skills were now needed in the halls of government and in maintaining order throughout the land. This wasn't necessarily a bad thing. The Edo period was a time of great cultural flourishing. Art, literature, and theater thrived, and Japan enjoyed a level of peace and prosperity it hadn't seen in centuries. But this shift also led to the gradual decline of the samurai class. With no wars to fight, their military skills became less important. Many samurai found themselves struggling financially, clinging to their traditional privileges in a changing world. Twilight of the samurai, a new era dawns. By the mid-19th century, the winds of change were blowing through Japan. The Tokugawa shogunate, once a symbol of stability, was seen as outdated and isolated. Western powers were knocking on Japan's door, demanding trade and threatening to open the country by force. In 1868, a group of young samurai, frustrated with the shogunate's inability to adapt, staged a coup d'etat known as the Meiji Restoration. They restored the emperor to power and set Japan on a path of rapid modernization and industrialization. This new era spelled the end of the samurai class as a distinct social order. The Meiji government abolished their special privileges, including the right to carry swords in public. Samurai were no longer needed as warriors or administrators. They were expected to integrate into the new modern Japan. It was a time of great upheaval for the samurai. Some adapted, embracing the new opportunities presented by a modernizing Japan. Others clung to the old ways, lamenting the loss of their traditional status and privileges. Legacy of the samurai, an enduring spirit. So the samurai are gone, right? Well, yes and no. While the samurai class as it existed for centuries is no more, their legacy lives on in modern Japan. Their influence can be seen in everything from martial arts to business ethics to popular culture. The samurai code of Bushido, with its emphasis on honor, loyalty, and discipline, continues to resonate with many Japanese people. It's seen as a set of values that helped shape Japan into the nation it is today. Think of it like this: the tools of the samurai's trade, the swords, the armor, the castles, might be relics of the past, but the spirit that animated them, the dedication to duty, the pursuit of excellence, that's something that transcends time. The samurai might be gone, but their legacy, like the echo of a fallen warrior's cry, continues to reverberate through the heart of Japan. They remind us that even in a world obsessed with progress and innovation, there's still a place for honor, courage, and the unwavering pursuit of a higher purpose.